guys, welcome to Baking and Books. My name is Lexi and I'm an amateur baker who loves to read. So each week I post videos of myself attempting to bake something new while also talking about a book that I have recently read or just really love. This week we are making peanut butter and jelly cupcakes. I had a major fail with my salted caramel cake last week, so I felt like I needed to go back to cupcakes where I really seemed to thrive and try to be better because I just couldn't do with 2 failed weeks in a row. We're also going to be talking about part 2 of Sleeping Beauties by Stephen King and Owen King. I don't think it's really split into like part 1, part 2. I actually think it was split into like 3 or 4 parts, but I split my talking into 2 different parts just because it's such a huge book that I knew I was not going to be able to get through it all in one sitting, regardless of how complicated the recipe might be. And I didn't want to. I wanted to be able to really take my time on this one because I really enjoyed it. So if you haven't seen part 1, I would recommend doing that first. I'll try to remember to link that in the description box below so that you can just follow the link to there. Watch that first, then come back and watch this. I am going to go ahead and give a short synopsis just in case you're curious of what this book is about, and then I'll dive into my baking. So let's go ahead and get started. So a quick synopsis. Sleeping Beauties takes place in the town of Dueling, and they're a decently small town, and they have started to notice that the women in their town, well, not even just all the women, the females in their town are going to sleep and not waking back up. Wow, I am already making a mess. There's a tear in this bag, and so I was pouring out the wrong side and already making a mess. Okay, anyway, the women of we're off to a really good start. The females in Dueling are going to sleep and not waking up. Instead, what's happening to them is there's like a cocoon wrapping that is winding itself all over them while they sleep. And if you try to wake them up, then they usually turn super violent. So the men are left to kind of figure out what's going on and how they should proceed. But there is one woman who is new to the town. Nobody knows her. She just sort of showed up, and she can go to sleep and wake without it happening. She seems to be like a miracle person. So it sort of centers around what the men should do with their women gone, and how they should proceed with this woman who can wake and sleep. It's a really fun book. It sort of takes a look at like what would happen if the sexes were split and each had to create a new world on their own. So it's a really fun story, and I highly recommend it. From here on out, I'm going to go ahead and get into the second half of my discussion and all of the notes that I made. If you don't want that spoiled for you, then go ahead and just skip forward until it says no more spoilers. You can see how my baking turned out without having anything ruined for you. But if you've already read this book, or you just don't really care, and you've already watched part 1 of this book, then go ahead and stay with me. I'm going to get a little bit deeper into the book and continue with my baking. So the first thing that it made me so confused to figure out where the women were, and when we finally got to see them in their what they called our place, it just was confusing to me because I was like, where is this going? Like, what is the point of this? And why does it seem to be only the women of Dueling that get to make this decision? Like, it just seems weird to me that only the women get to do anything about this. Well, not just like the women, like I guess that's kind of the whole point, but only the women of Dueling, like they start venturing out and they realize that other women are not there. So I'm like, where did all these other women go while they were asleep? Like, if it's not happening in every single town, then what happened to these other poor women? Like, did they just stay asleep or like have a lost feeling for all of those months? I mean, I know it's only like 2 weeks or something like that in the men's world, but in the women's world, it goes on for like a whole year practically. So that's for the first time I was like, what is happening here? What is going on? Okay, I have to make egg whites. We all know how great I am at that, so wish me luck. I just got stuck on that for a while, honestly. Like, you can see in my writings when I was like taking notes, like I just got stuck on that for a while because I was like, where are all these women at? And like, what is happening to them, you know? Like, is it just the women in our place? And what happens to them when they die over there? You know, like that was like a huge concern for me. I was like, what is happening to these women if they die in our place? Like, where are they going? Are they dying? Or like, are they okay? Are they waking up in the real world? I was just so confused and I needed answers. Stephen, I needed answers. I mean, I know we got them eventually, but I needed them right then and there. Okay, that was way more successful than I have ever been, and I'm so proud of myself. We didn't get a single yolk in here. Woo! Okay, so anyway, I got fixated for a while on like what was happening to the women over there. But I guess like that's really when we started to get more information about what was going on over there. So it's not really that much of a surprise. Okay, I wrote down feel bad for Gerda. So now I gotta remember who Gerda is. I think Gerda is the wife of that guy that has 3 daughters, and when they're trying to set up at the prison, one of the daughters gets shot and killed, and she like disappears from our place. I think that's who it is. I do feel really bad for her because it's like even when like she doesn't know what happened to her daughter, she's just hanging out in our place, and one of her daughters just disappears, and she has no idea where she's at or what's going on. I mean, they really don't have any idea what's going on. Like they're just guessing and speculating. So, I mean, at this point, it's kind of like you can't help but feel bad for her just because she doesn't know where her daughter is at the moment. And then also, too, like, if they decide to go back, her daughter is dead along with her husband. Like, they're going to wake up to a really shitty situation. I mentioned at the beginning that I was a little bit worried about the list of names and characters at the beginning of the book that they put. But I will say it didn't really affect me until they were talking about like something happened with Kaylee and then something happened with Kitty. And there was one of them, and I don't remember who, but one of them was dead. And I remember thinking to myself as they were talking about whichever one was the other one that was not dead, I was like, wait a minute. Didn't she die? Like, hasn't she been dead for a good minute now? And then it dawned on me that I was thinking about a totally different person. I think it was Kaylee, like her lover killed her or something like that and then killed herself. Pretty sure, but they were talking about Kitty. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm pretty sure Kitty is dead. And then I realized I was incorrect. And that was the first time that I was like, oh, yeah, this characters, there's a lot. There are a lot to them. The thing that I also really find interesting is that as much as I dislike Frank, and I feel bad for Elaine and Nana. I feel bad for Elaine and Nana. I also very much dislike Elaine. Like, especially for the fact that she decided she was going to go burn down this tree just because she didn't want her or Nana going back. And I just like, how selfish is that? Like, it's not anybody else's fault that you fell in love with, married, and had a kid with somebody that is abusive. Like, that is nobody's fault but your own. Well, okay, look, I know that sounds really harsh. Give me a second. Let me just explain. It is 100% Frank's fault that he is a dick and he is an abusive dick. 100% Frank's fault. That is not Elaine's fault at all. And, like, good for her for getting out of the marriage. You know, they're separated, and because she knows he's a major dick that's never gonna change. My issue with it is that you, like, that's, I don't know, like, that's just life, Elaine. Like, I'm sorry that happened to you. I really am. Like, I don't know how to say this without people trying to come at me. I am not trying to victim blame Elaine. But my issue with Elaine is that she is gonna burn down this tree, and their pathway back home simply because she doesn't want her or Nana going back to Frank. That's not anybody else's problem right now. Like, it should be somebody else's problem. Like, you should turn Frank into the authorities. You should get counseling. Like, it should be somebody else's problem. But right now, you want to block the way for every woman in the world. I mean, I get that they don't know that it's every woman in the world, but every woman in dueling. You want to block her way back to her sons, her husband, her brothers, her fathers, whoever, because you don't want to go back to Frank, and you don't want Nana to go back to Frank. Like, and I'm not trying to victim blame Elaine, but it's just like, your situation is not the only situation here. It is not all about you. So please don't come at me in the comments. I'm not trying to victim blame, but she just really gets under my skin because I feel bad for her situation, but that doesn't mean she gets to decide for everyone whether they go back to the world of men or not. Just a side note, this recipe is really doing the most when it comes to these cupcakes. Like, I feel like we could have just bought a boxed cupcake mix and been okay. But no, we gotta make it from scratch. Listen, the last time I did that, I think I messed up with the coffee, but honestly, it was not as good as what comes out of a box. So I'm trying really hard here to make sure that it stays good and that I don't screw it up. They look really nice and fluffy. Like, the batter looks really nice. I'll show you in a minute. But, like, it definitely looks really nice and fluffy. I haven't tasted it yet, but, I mean, maybe this is the way to go. Who knows? This person has the secret to the best cupcakes in the world. Okay, here we go. So you can see the batter. Look how nice it looks. It's all, like, runny and stuff. Let's taste it before it goes in the cupcake liners. Ooh, ooh. Okay, cupcakes are in. So now we're going to make the frosting, and I'm sure it's going to be amazing. And I still have some things to just, like, go off about, so. Okay, now I'm going to go back on my rant about Frank, because now I'm already in trouble, I'm sure, for what I said about Elaine, so let's go back to Frank. And honestly, like, I feel like this does all go back to Frank, a lot of this, just because, like, yeah, there are other guys that follow suit, and, like, they really should chill the fuck out. But to be honest, like, I think it's easy for them to get, like, talked into this. And I think Frank just gets so fixated on what's going on with Evie at the prison that it just blows my mind. Like, I can understand from Clint's point of view and the guys at the prison, like, I can understand trying to protect someone. Because I feel like that's exactly what they're trying to do. Like, they are, whether they believe her and what she's capable of or not, I feel like they're just trying to protect her from, you know, basically, like, these assholes, because she said that they really need to. Like, their families, their wives, their girlfriends, their daughters, like, their whole lives depend on, you know, this woman staying alive. And she's not really going to do anything to help them except for tell them that. So, like, I can understand protecting her and going to extremes to protect her. Because I feel like, you know, she holds the key. So why would you want to see something bad happen to her? What I don't understand is Frank's insistence that they get to her. And you know he's not going to be nice to her when he finally does get to her. You know he's going to be a jackass and overreact like he does in every single situation. I mean, that's exactly in my mind why she calls him and taunts him. Because she knows he just can't help himself. He's just going to get mad because of his anger issues. What I was not expecting was for Frank to redeem himself. I really was not. I really did not think he was capable of it. I was convinced that he was going to die in this battle. I honestly thought he was going to die, like, in this last moment where he just cannot give this up, and he just ends up screwing up himself and everybody else because he can't let go of this, like, anger and grudge against Evie. That's honestly really what I thought was going to happen. True, honest. And I was surprised that it didn't. But I was also kind of glad because I felt like it was nice that I couldn't predict that. Like, it was nice that even though I thought that Frank was going to end up just, like, dying in this stupid little battle that all of these men have convinced themselves is necessary, I was honestly pleasantly surprised that he did end up redeeming himself, and he did end up, you know, going to anger management and kind of starting that trend among the other men so that they could all be better. So that was a surprise, but a nice surprise. Like, good job, Frank. I still hate him as a character. I still think he's a shitty person, but I will recognize growth where growth is happening. I was sad over Clint and Lila. I guess I wasn't super surprised. I mean, they were on rocky terms from before, and honestly, it was all kind of stupid reasons, but they did both go through a lot in this process. So I can kind of understand how, like, once you got back out into the real world, after having gone through what they went through, I can sort of understand why it would be difficult to maintain a marriage and all, you know. I mean, it makes me sad just because, like, nobody wants to see that, and I think they're both good people, and I feel like they could have worked it out, but I guess they decided not to. I honestly was upset about Jared and Mary. Like, come on. Really? He'd been crushing on this girl. He'd been trying to prove that that other guy was a major dick, which he totally was. And he'd been trying to be, like, a good guy. And, you know, he and Mary were trying to survive all this together. And then they don't even end up together. It's just a major disappointment. A major disappointment for me. Otherwise, like, I enjoyed how the story ended, but that was something that honestly made me mad. I was like, really? He doesn't even get to try dating Mary? Come on. Not happy, Stephen and Owen. Not happy. Okay, if you left because of spoilers, go ahead and come back and join us. Our cupcakes went into the oven and they came back out. Now, these cupcakes were a surprise to me because you can see that they're not like a golden color. They're, hold on, the light. Look at them. They're just like a regular vanilla color, I guess, like white color. But the little pokey stick that I put in to see if it was done came out clean on like all of them. So I took them out and I had them cool. You know what's really helping with my patience, and some of you will not be surprised to hear this? TikTok. Yeah, because you can pass 10-15 minutes easily on TikTok, and all of a sudden it's cool and we're ready to go. So I think I figured out this patience thing. All right, now I'm going to use my handy dandy little thing here to cut out the center so that we can put in jelly. Should we see what it tastes like? Ooh. Okay, the only problem with this is that I cut all the way to the bottom. So jelly's gonna fall out the bottom. Okay, let's be gentler on this. This little thing is actually for apples. Pretty sure just like coring apples. But I personally think that I'm a genius for using it to do this because it makes like perfect holes, and I'm always ready to go here. Because I do tend to make a lot of cupcakes with fillings. Maybe just a lot of really cool cupcakes in general have fillings. I'm not sure. I haven't had lunch yet, so I'm just kind of like eating. This is my healthy pre-lunch, my appetizer to lunch. All right, here we go. Jelly. I picked blueberry because I felt like it was a good idea. I'm going to use my 4th teaspoon here to put these in. And I feel really smart for thinking about this just now because I feel like there's no other spoon of the right size to get this jam/jelly in, but this is. I'm telling you, sometimes I'm a genius. I think the thing about these holes, too, is that they're a really good size for when you put stuff in it. Like, look, I'm going on about them, but it's just because I had such struggle when I first started doing cupcakes, trying to figure out how to make the center cut out without destroying the entire cupcake. And I feel like the apple core was a great solution. Because, like, I know there are some people that are not huge fans of peanut butter and jelly, and that's fine. Like, I understand that. I don't like a ton of jelly on my PB&Js. So, like, I understand that. So I just think this is a nice amount. Like, it gives you a little, ooh, some jelly. But it also is not, like, an overwhelming amount of jelly. Like, there's still a lot of focus on the cupcake and on the peanut butter icing. Obviously, don't make these for people who have allergies. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my spoon really quick, and I'm going to just try to gently cover each of the little jelly holes with some peanut butter frosting. That way I don't have to necessarily worry about covering those when I do put this frosting on. I can just worry about how it looks. I might have chosen the wrong tip for this bag because it's already kind of like leaking out, but I just wanted them to be nice and centered and not too much. I feel like these cupcakes are going to have to go in the fridge like almost immediately because I think that the frosting is just pretty runny, which is not the end of the world by any means, but I think it's just that it's gonna cause the frosting to maybe just like run off. So I'm gonna taste one and then I'll put the rest in the fridge while I wrap things up here. All right. So here is our cupcake. Trying to get the lighting right. It's already kind of sliding off, which is why I think that maybe it's a little, here, this one looks a little nicer. So you can see, cute little cupcake. Let's go ahead and try one. It just has such a nice like vanilla color to it. I'm still so surprised because normally cupcakes come out, you know, like the golden brown. Okay, I'm gonna try to get a bite of jelly in here too. Honestly, it tastes like a peanut butter and jelly. No joke at all. Like, if you get a bite with everything in it, it for sure tastes like peanut butter and jelly. Well, I would say these were a huge success. If you like peanut butter and jelly, you definitely want to try making these cupcakes. It was so good. And you could use any kind of jelly or jam that you like and just put it in the center. And it's just a really nice flavor, just very, like, wholesome. Yeah, this is peanut butter and jelly. If you have any other recipes that you want me to try, please feel free to send those my way. I'm always looking for new recipes, and I would love to try it. I highly recommend this book. It's such a well-written story, and it sucks you right in and keeps your attention and even though it's big, it's well worth the read, so I highly recommend this book. If you have any other book recommendations that you want me to try, you can send those my way as well. I'm super excited for a lot of the books that we have coming up. I've got some really good books on my to-read list, and I cannot wait to share those with you. But please feel free to send book recommendations my way as well. Remember that when you're out shopping for books, try to shop local if you can, or just rent from your local library. If you want, you can follow me on Instagram. That's typically where I post what I'm currently reading. So if you want to keep up with me, you totally can. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. If you had a good time, please like and subscribe. I try to do this every week, and I always try to be fun, but also a little bit messy and ridiculous as well. Thank you so much to those of you that do watch every week. I really, really appreciate you, and I'll see you guys next time.